Welcome back to the Gun Dungeon, guys. Today we're going to be fueling the flames of the caliber war debates. We're going to be taking a look from 38 Special, 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, 45 ACP, and 10mm, and we're going to run them all through the gel blocks. Now, some people's going to call this test biased or unfair or whatever because I'm only going to shoot one load from each handgun, but there's a reason for that. The loads that I've chosen have been tested previously. I know they're good loads in each one of them. Either I've tested them or I've seen them tested online in jail. I know these rounds are the upper tier of what that caliber has to offer. So I'll show you what we're getting ready to use and we'll get started. Okay, first we're going to be using the snub nose 38 Special 642, and if you watched last week's video you will know that 110 grain Hornady FTX plus P bullet did pretty well in that test, so that's what we're going to be using in that. Next up, Beretta Nano. I know it's a Nano, they're not super popular, but it is the smallest 9mm that I have. And in this we are going to be using a Speer Gold Dot 124 grain plus P. That is my carry round. I really believe in that round for a 9mm, so we'll see how it does in gel with this short barrel. Then you'll notice this lowly 40 Smith & Wesson sitting here by itself with no handgun attributed to it. Well, I had two options. I do not own a subcompact 40 Smith & Wesson, so I could either use a full-size handgun with the 40, which would not be fair to the other calibers, or I can use this Glock 29 to launch that 40 cal. And what that is a Federal HST 180 grain projectile. Next, moving on, we have the Springfield Xdm. That is another short 45, and we will be using the Speer 200 grain plus P Gold Dot. And then to the cat daddy, the Glock 29 10mm. This is one of the best performing 10mm rounds that I have tested, and I've tested 10mm fairly extensively. That is the 200 grain XTP bullet, and that is a hand load because I enjoy loading 10mm to where it's supposed to be. So we will run these through the gel. We will be using 4 layers of denim, as this is a defensive type test. And you can see the front block is pretty clear. We got one little spot from the last test in it towards the front, but our rear block does have some wound tracks, so we'll be able to see the wound tracks in the front block and then measure the distance in the second block. So let's get started. All right, guys, so we'll be starting the test with the 38 Special, the 110 grain FTX, and then we'll move right along the line just as you saw them laying on the table left to right. We'll do the 38 Special, then the 9mm, then the 40 Smith & Wesson, 45 ACP, then 10mm. I'll call them out in the video or the clip previous to me actually firing the round, so that's the order we're going to go in. So there you have it, guys. Got expansion right as soon as we got entry. Decent little wound track, nothing to really scream home about, but a decent little wound track. And there it sets. It's expanded the way that Hornadys are known to expand, not massive expansion as far as overall width, but reliable. Let's see where I measured. And it is right about the 14-inch mark. So that's twice this round has performed consistently for me. So there you have it, 38 Special, 110 grain Hornady FTX bullet, critical defense plus P. Next up, 9mm, 124 grain plus P Gold Dot out of the Beretta Nano. All right, there you have it. This is tracked right here. You can tell more of a wound cavity, quite a bit of expansion right off of entry. Continue to have a decent wound track to about in 8-inch mark. So travels down, passes our 38 and enters the second block. And you can see that bullet is expanded pretty decently from what I can tell in the block from here. And we are pushing our 18-inch limit. We are about 17 3/4, 17 7/8, somewhere in there. We didn't go over 18, but we did get real close to it. All right, next up, 40 Smith & Wesson, fired out of the Glock 29, 180 grain HST Federal. So that top track right there is our 40 Smith & Wesson. Pretty good looking wound track, I have to say. All you 40 haters out there, that's pretty impressive. Keeps tracking down, starts to taper off at about 9.5 inches. Then you can see some denim in the track. And their rests are 180 grain projectile. Looks like picture perfect performance as far as expansion goes. Maybe you'll see it a little better from there, but we'll dig them out and take a look anyways. But our penetration is just over 14.5. We're looking at about 14 5/8 inches of penetration. That's pretty good. Can't say anything bad about that. So next up, the old man, fat and slow, 45 ACP 200 grain plus P Speer Gold Dot. Okay guys, so I've actually moved to the other side of the table here so we can see this wound track a little better. This track here is our 200 grain Speer Gold Dot, 45 ACP, and that's a pretty impressive wound track. This is the 40 up here. It's kind of darker brown colored one for some reason. And you can see they compare quite similarly. The only difference is our 45 stopped here. Our 45 stopped just right at 11.5 inches of penetration. So, and honestly, 45s are kind of notorious for that because they do open up so wide and have so much surface area, and they're not necessarily moving super fast to start with. So they expel a lot of their energy quickly and tend to under penetrate. So that's what we have for that. Next up, the best millimeter, 10 millimeter Glock 29 200 grain XTP coming up. All right guys, so as you can see, this top track is our 10 millimeter, and it is laying a good wallop on this gel block. Pretty devastating wounding characteristics, and that continues to happen all the way to the end of this gel block. So 16 inches of wound track. Unfortunately, that is not our 10 millimeter. That is the 9 millimeter, if I remember correctly. And this thing continues, and that is actually the wound track that starts to dip down there and it exits the block. We actually had 32 inches of penetration with that XTP 200 grain 10 millimeter. Wow. Okay guys, there we go. Left to right, we have the 110 grain 38 special. You see it kind of didn't expand super reliably, but done okay. Then we have the 124 grain plus P Speer Gold Dot 9 millimeter, the 40 Smith & Wesson 180 grain HST, and the 45 ACP 200 grain plus B Speer Gold Dot, and a blank spot here for our 10mm that passed through both blocks of gel. So there's that. So there you have it, guys. There's our Caliber War sparking gel test. Let me know in the comments which one of them you choose based on today's performance. If you all like today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Share these videos. It really helps out small channels like this. Don't forget to check out my Facebook page, the Gun Dungeon official Facebook page. And I'm also on Instagram, kind of give some preludes to what's coming up, what we're going to be doing. So as always, guys, stay tuned.